Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and hello from wherever you are watching this. My name is Noel Loom. If you're new here, do consider subscribing, and if you're an oldie, welcome back. Welcome back. You are the real MVP. So this video is actually quite an impromptu video because this was not what I was planning to shoot today, but I just got off the phone with one of my friends and we had a very long conversation and I said, you know what, I'm just going to make a video about it. So basically, right, my friend had called me and she was asking me, oh, how did I get out of debt? And basically, this is a story time that probably will lead into plenty advice that might save your life. So if you are in debt, currently in debt, or you are broke, or you've gone to go and enter gbese and you don't know how to get out of it, this video is for you. Watch this video to the end. I will share what my story and what I did to help me. I hope this video helps you. So story guys, story. This is really a story time. So sometime some years back, I think about 2 to 3 years ago, I was in debt. I was in serious busy. So basically, what had happened was there was a time in my life, around just shortly after COVID, between 2020 and 2021, when I was sick all the time. I was always sick, and you know those kind of sickness where you nobody knows exactly what's doing you, but you're just sick. You're going to the hospital and they cannot pinpoint exactly what's wrong with you. You are doing different tests. You are treating this today. You are treating that today. So that was what happened to me, and that was where my debt kinikon started from. So basically, I was sick. There was one time I was in the hospital. I couldn't really pay my bills, and so I was looking for money everywhere. I don't even know what happened that time, but anyway, I downloaded one of all these borrow money now, pay later app. I borrowed, I paid for what I needed to pay. I said, oh, when I get my salary, I will pay back. That's why I downloaded another one, borrowed what I wanted to pay. I downloaded another one, borrow. And then when it was time to pay back, I used my salary to also sort out some medical bills. And then I then had to now start borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. That was the genesis of my problem. I'll borrow from Peter to pay Paul. The interest rate was increasing. I wasn't really paying attention. When my salary comes, instead of me to offset my debt, I would just be borrowing from one Peter to pay Paul. I just made bad financial decisions, for lack of a better word. And so what that had led to was the beginning of my journey of borrow. I was borrowing so much money. I will borrow from here, borrow from this, pay this, borrow. And you know how it is now. Once you think you have easy access to money, you now start spending anyhow. And that was how I got into a lot of debt. Now, fast forward to like a year or so after that, one of my colleague at work had also had the same borrowing up and down issue, and she wasn't able to pay. And then they sent messages to all her contact list talking about how she's a debtor, how she's of unworthy character, etc., etc. You know how those their text messages can be, and that's how they sent a message to everybody on our contact list, including my director. Director was so angry. I remember her. I remember that thing like it was yesterday. She came into the office. We had a meeting, and she poured out her irritation, for lack of a better word. She talked about how she was so disappointed and how we should please stop exposing her contacts to useless people and all that talk and all that talk. And I remember just sitting down in that meeting and having an epiphany and being like, Omo, Doyin, this na your future. You need to go back home and know exactly how much you are owing and pay it off. Now, this is me thinking that the money was just so bad as about 200K, right? That's why I went back home. I remember that meeting was on a Friday, so Saturday morning I woke up. I now listed out all my debts of all the money that I was paying from this, I was owing, sorry, from here to there to there. I wrote them all out. By the time I punched my calculator, hey, and saw the total, it shocked me. I said, what? I'm in this much debt. And I knew exactly how much my income was at the time. So I couldn't afford this money. Like I couldn't pay this off. And I was shaking. I was I was confused. I didn't know what to do. I was just like my emotions were just all over the place. I'm saying all this story. I tell you all this story time to tell you the practical ways that me like this Noelum, got out of debt. The first thing I did, prayed. I went to with it to God in prayer. After I prayed, I had it in my spirit to confess my sins to my family and friends and tell them this is what I have done, this is how much debt I am in. How can you help me? Can you help me? Do you have any advice for me? So I went with it to them, not just asking for money, was also advice and prayers. Some offered prayers, some offered candid advice, and some offered money. And I don't take it for granted. I have a very strong and sweet support system. I have amazing friends. I have an amazing family. I don't take it for granted. And I know that some people may not have that luxury, but I did. And what I did after I talked to my friends and family, I even reduced the number of base that I was owing. That's the honest truth because I was so ashamed. I can't even tell you the total figure, but I was so ashamed by the total figure that I was like, how did I get into this debt? I know that now that they're watching it, they'll hear that. So you didn't tell us the complete figure. How much was it really? Please, if we should let bygones be bygones. I just said it years ago. I have forgotten it. Anyway, so they raised some money for me, and then they gave me, and they held me accountable. And that was another thing that helped me after telling them, was that I had people to hold me accountable to pay this money up. Now, there was one thing one of my friends said that stuck with me, and in fact, the thing still dey my body as I dey talk to una now. She was like, "No, the problem is not helping you pay off this debt. The problem is not helping you pay off this debt. The problem is you not borrowing again." And she likened borrowing to a spirit, and she said that borrowing is a spirit. It's just like gambling. You keep going back and back and back. My problem is not helping you pay this debt. My problem is don't go back to borrowing. The next thing I did was to list out all my debt, to know exactly how much I am owing, because sometimes people don't know. You think that, oh, it's one misery figure. When you calculate all the app that you have, and you see how much you are owing, it go shock you, because it shocked me. So the next thing is to know exactly how much you are owing. Another thing I did was that I printed out my statement, like I said. I also tried to track where my money was leaking from, because I'm not one who even lives like a flamboyant lifestyle. I don't do all those things. I don't really do a lot of things that should, quote and unquote, leak, where my money will leak for. So imagine my shock when I found out that even though I don't categorize myself as somebody that lives a flamboyant life, I was still spending above my means. And the things where my money were going to was, one, food. Me, I like food. Anybody that knows me like food. Instead of cooking food in my house, I used to order food all the time. And that was collecting my money like there was no man's business. And so I had to cut up on that. Another thing I had to cut down on was Uber. I'm the princess of Uber. They made Uber because of me. Every day, everywhere, I'm always entering one Uber to another, from this junction to that junction. When I could not afford it, so I had to cut down on that. That place where my money was going to was recharge card. I was queen of long distance relationship. Yes. I was always talking on the phone, always calling, always doing this one, always spending my data, always this. My dear, by the time I realized how much I was spending on data, nobody told me two times. As in that time, I didn't even used to subscribe my phone. I would just wait till when I get to my office. There was free Wi-Fi. Then I use my phone there. I had to cut down on a lot of things. I had to block the holes in which my money was leaking from. All this to say, I needed that cash flow to attack. When I mean attack, like you are at war, to attack my debt. And then I went through my things and looked for things of value. So I remember that time I used to have a lot of human hair. I sold it all. I sold it all. It was only two that I had left that I'll be using to wear to work. I sold all my human hair. I remember I had two laptops then. I don't even know what I was forming. I just sold it. I started to sell things. I almost sold my phone. Like I started to sell things to help me raise money. I sold them for stupid amounts. That's the honest truth because I was really desperate. I just needed cash to be coming in so that I can be tackling out my debt. Now, I also started watching this guy on YouTube. His name is Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey. You can go and check him out. I also started watching him on YouTube, and he always teaches Americans how they can get out of debt, how they can build wealth, and all that and all that. So I started watching him, and he has a system I feel that works when it comes to coming out of debt. So he calls it the snowball method, where you list your debt from highest to lowest and start tackling it from the lowest to highest. That was his own way of tackling debt, and that was what I adopted. So what that meant was this. Let me give for instance, 100K is my salary, and every month I am paying 60,000 naira of that 100K for to service debt, right? Now, with Dave Ramsey's method, you will highlight your debt. So let's say the list of my debt was 10,000 naira, and I'm supposed to pay a minimum of 2,000 naira every month to clear that 10,000 naira debt, right? I will go. I will see that 10,000 naira after I've sold one hair of 10K, for example. I will go and attack that 10,000 naira like my life does not be pay it off. What does that mean? It means that 2,000 naira out of that 60,000 naira has been relieved. I've relieved my income of 2,000 naira. Does that mean that I will now go back and add that money to the money of my income? No, that money is still meant to tackle debt. So I will still, even as the next month my money that I'm supposed to be paying for debt has reduced to 58,000. That is not the actual figure. It's still 60,000. I will still add it and tackle the next debt, free up some income, and that's how I kept doing. So from least to highest. And once you keep doing that, you free up some income. It's also be giving you some sort of motivation that you are clearing your debt. Because when you put the number together, it seems like a lot. It seems overwhelming. But when you start to attack it small, little by little, before you know it, you have cleared up your debt. But to the glory of God, that was how I was able to start paying off my debt one after the other and clear them off eventually by the end of that year. I mean, the beginning of the year, next year, give or take. And that was how I was able to do it. And I was diligent in it. And I was just, just focusing on attacking the debt like the enemy, because that's what it was. Because as far as I'm concerned, you know that Bible verse that says the borrower is slave to the lender. It is very, very true, because you will not have any form of freedom. You cannot drink water and drop cup until you pay off all your debts. And these days are here. They'll be sending messages. These days are here. They'll be sending messages that, oh, you did the things that you did not do. You did the thing just to embarrass you because of those money. Now, another thing that I did before I forget was that I also called all these loan shark people and explained to them. That's what I did in my case. I don't know if they still do it now. And explained to them that, look, I am short on cash now. What do I have to do so that people will not embarrass me? That's why I called every single one. I called them. What do I have to do? Because they will even be calling you, self, when you're owing, they'll be calling you. So I was like, what do I have to do? Can I draw out a plan that is feasible for me to pay off this money? And I remember almost all of them then were saying, okay, if you pay, so let's say for a month in Okona and Co. A loan shark, you are supposed to pay 10,000 naira a month, and you don't have that 10,000 naira to pay. They told me at the time that, okay, if you can pay 4,000 naira, we will know that, okay, you are actively trying to pay it off. Then we would free you. So that was what I did at that time again, to buy myself some time to actually plan, because my income was not increasing and I needed to pay this debt ASAP. And so to buy me some time to put a structure in place where I'm able to be paying this debt off, I had to call them and got all this. This was the feedback I got from them. So let me recap for those of you that were not listening at the beginning. The first thing you are going to do, you are going to take it to God in prayer, because God is going to help you to change to help to work on your heart, to work on your discipline, all those things. God is going to help you to reform yourself from within because of that borrowing thing. I could take it to God in prayer. So I don't know, some people have gotten into debt for different reasons. Take that reason to God in prayer. That's the first thing you are going to do. Next thing, if you have good and strong support system, you could have ask for help. You're not asking them to clear your debt off. It is your debt. You're just asking for help. Anything that can allow you to just stand on your feet. Some people might give you 5,000. Some people might give you 4,000. Some people might give you different amount of money. Whatever they give you, just take it in chunks and just gather it together and try to start to attack your debt. Second thing you are going to do is you are going to go and print out your statement, check your bank account, do whatever it is you want to do your own bookkeeping, and find out where you are spending money and you don't need it. You need all the extra cash that you can get right now to tackle your debt. That's what you are going to do. Secondly, you are going to sell some valuable things. Some things you are living in luxury when you are broke. You have to give yourself reality. You are broke. You are living in luxury when you are broke. So therefore, you have to start to sell those luxury things. Because that's what I did. I had to sell those things. I had to start selling them one after the other. And by the time I was done selling them, I was able to raise some more funds to attack my debts. Now, me, I was desperate. So I was not looking to send to the highest bidder. I was just looking for cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. So I was offering these things at cheap, unbelievable prices. It didn't make sense to anybody then, but it made sense to me because I was a slave to the blender and I didn't want to be a slave anymore. I needed to free myself from the shackles of debt. So you have to also get to that point where you are able to do that for yourself so that you can get out of debt. After I sold my valuables and then used the money to free up some of my debts, the next thing I did, and I closed all the leaking holes from my income where I was spending money in places I didn't need to spend money in, and I used that to also tackle my debt. I also used Dave Ramsey's snowboard method to start to attack my debt. That was what I did, and slowly and surely I became debt free. And you can too. You are not, it's not the end of the world. You are not a bad person. You just made a mistake. And you can also improve your finances, and God will help you. You just have to take it to God in prayer, take other people's advice. There are so many people out there who give tangible advice. Dave Ramsey is one of them. Smart Money Arise is one of them because I use some of her tactics to also help me in terms of debt. So you can do it. I did it, so you can do it too. It is not the end of the world. You can pay off all you owe. You just have to be disciplined and diligent. And what that will help you after you have paid your debt is that it will start helping you to also arrange your financial life. I'm just speaking from my own experience. I'm not a financial expert. Do what will be best for you. But you could take some of this my advice if they would help you and try to streamline your income and try to pay your debts. So, guys, that's all I have. That's all I have for my story time today. This video is already long, but that's all I have for my story time today. I hope you have learned something. Please share this to somebody that needs it, and I'll see you in the next video. I love you. If you've watched to this point, please smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and share this video if you care. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.